welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you're new here, hi and welcome. I'm Joanne, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you guys 10 really easy bullet journal weekly spreads that you can create in under 10 minutes. And I know this for a fact is true because I created them in under 10 minutes when I was making this video for you guys. I wanted to create this video like this because I wanted to show you that bullet journaling doesn't have to be onerous or tedious or time consuming. You don't have to do like a masterpiece of art on every single page. You totally can, but it's so not necessary. You can quickly set up really nice looking spreads that make you happy and make you feel organized for the month. I wanted to show you that it doesn't have to be time consuming and you can totally do these very quickly. So I'm going to walk you through each of the 10 layouts and you're going to see the time that it took me as well as how I kind of mapped it out on the page. For the sake of this video, I've decided to choose like a really simple and minimal theme. I've gone with this like sort of gray leaf art, and I'll just be using that art throughout all the spreads. So feel free to use that as your theme, or use it to show you kind of where to place the artwork that matches your theme that you're using these spreads for. In today's video, I'm only using blacks and grays. As usual, I'll link all the products I use in the description below, so you can check that out if you like. But I have my Faber-Castell fine liners, and then I have the Zebra midliner in gray here. And then I have a slightly darker gray in the Crayola Super Tips. Oh, and also my Pentel brush pen. Before we get into the spreads, one thing I want to mention is when I create weekly spreads, for me, there are some things that are like must do. So you're going to see that I've included them in every single weekly spread. For me, those items are I need 7 days of the week. A lot of bullet journal spreads you'll see will do like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, weekend. So it's 6, and that is more convenient because it's like 3 and 3. But I really don't like that. My weekends are very busy and I need a separate box for Saturday and Sunday. So I need to have all 7 days. Another thing I really need to have is a to-do list. And then I also always have to have this little calendar here that shows you like where in the month we are. So you're going to see those elements in every single spread in this video, but each spread will look distinctly different. So spread number 1, this one here, I actually haven't tried this one myself, but I've seen it online. I think it'd be really great to try. I really like how there's the 3 on the top and the bottom, so it's a little bit of difference there. I think this would be a really great way to utilize a lot of space on the page and also give a kind of elevated look without putting in too much time.
I'm starting the clock, and to set up spread number 1, I'm starting by drawing out the 3 boxes on each page. I've sort of mapped it out with my fingers to know where to draw the boxes. Definitely feel free to use a ruler if you want to measure it out to make it more accurate. I prefer to just freestyle it, and I don't really mind if it's not exactly perfect, but feel free to use a ruler if you would like. And now I'm adding the 7th box below, so that will be the 7th day. Here I'm adding my calendar, and then I'm going to add the day of the month. And then what I really liked about the aesthetic of this layout was the way they wrote to the numbers and the days of the week. So I'm writing the numbers in like a light colored brush pen, and then I'm adding the day of the week directly on top of that. So I just thought this was a really cool like minimalist aesthetic. And then I decided to go in and thicken the boxes, which I immediately regretted. I think it looks better like this with just a thin line. It's like a nicer minimalist aesthetic, but anyways, once I did one, I felt like I had to do them all. Then I'm adding this drop shadow here just for a little bit of effect, and then I'm adding a little bit of artwork in the blank spaces, and that's it for this spread. And we made it just in time, just under 10 minutes. This is the first spread. What do you guys think?
The second layout is this one here. This one's really cool as well because you have the more like horizontal layout on the left and then the grid layout on the right. So just mixing it up a little bit. And there's also an opportunity to add some artwork. Maybe a downside is the aesthetic is a little bit like simplistic. If that's not what you're going for, it may not work in your monthly theme.
In spread number 2, I'm going to put the calendar of the month on the bottom left corner, and then I'm going to start by laying out the horizontal boxes on the left. So I've sort of mapped out 3 even spaces with my hands here, and then I'm drawing this like rounded rectangle. You can of course make it a more square rectangle if that goes better with your monthly theme. And then on the right side of the page, I'm first mapped out the 2 halves, top and bottom, and then I'll be adding 4 quadrants to the page. This is a great layout that uses up all the space, so take advantage of that and make the boxes quite big here. I'm adding the to-do list on the left, and then the numbers are going in these little boxes here, which I will color in with my marker afterwards. And then I'm just writing the days of the week here. You could use any font you want. I'm using this like simple brush lettering font, and then I'm just adding some artwork in the top left and on the bottom where I've saved a little bit of space.
spread is one of my all-time favorites. I love how professional and elevated it looks, but it's actually way easier than it looks. We just have the words with the numbers around them. And then I always like to add these lines like above and below, like you can see here, because it kind of gives you some guidance and structure for where to write. And by adding them above and below, we get to use the full page. So we just get more space to write out plans and ideas for the day and really maximize the space on the page.
This spread is actually a lot easier than it looks. It looks super professional, but it's actually a lot simpler, which is why I love it so much. So I'm laying out 7 grid spaces. I'm going to put 3 days on the left page and then 4 on the right, and then the to-do list is going to go in that blank space below the calendar month. And now we're going to be writing the numbers around the boxes that we drew out earlier, and I think this is what gives it such a cool aesthetic. And so for each of these numbers like 0 is easy, you just draw it around, but for numbers like 4 or 5 or 7 that have a stroke through the middle of the number, it can be a bit tricky to know where to put it, so try to decide if you want to put it above or below the box. I like to go below, but pick one and then stay consistent for a more kind of consistent look. Then I'm adding these lines above and below the numbers. I think this really helps to give some structure when you're writing your plans and tasks for the day. It's easier to see where to write for which day. So I've added these lines, and then I'm going to add a little bit of artwork where there's some space, and that's it. And we're well under 10 minutes here.
The fourth spread here is really simple, and I actually haven't used this one either, but I'm definitely going to. It's literally just 7 boxes, yet somehow looks so professional and elevated, I think. Super simple, and I think you could easily apply this to many different themes just by changing the color in the grid. It would already match your theme immediately.
This spread is another one that looks much more professional than it actually is, and it's actually very straightforward to set up. So I'm writing the monthly layout in the top left, and then you're basically going to be dividing each page into quadrants and then ignoring the top left quadrant because we only need 3 boxes on that day. So I've kind of mapped out the halfway mark for the bottom row first, and then I'm just drawing 1 line worth of an extra box on the top, and then I'm going to color that in and write the days of the week in that little like rectangle on the top. So I've divided the right page into the 4 quadrants, and then I'm going to be coloring them in and writing the days of the week, and the layout is pretty much done. And even with adding the artwork, I'm still under 9 minutes.
Spread number 5 is another one that I saw online recently. I can't remember where I saw it, but I definitely want to try it out because I think it just looks really cool. I really like this strong black bar in the middle, and then we have 8 boxes below, so 7 days plus a to-do list. And then what attracted me to this spread the most, is the reason I wanted to show it to you guys today, is on the top bit, there's that space where you can add, you can add whatever you want. I've gone with goals, gratitude, and habits, so you can really be task-oriented and focused for the week.
So when I created this spread for this video, it was actually the first time I've ever done it, so I was a little bit hesitant actually, but I think I did a good job. I started with the name of the month and then the calendar layout in the top left, and then I drew this bar. Draw it not quite halfway, draw it like 40% of the way down the page, because otherwise you're just not going to have enough space for these boxes. So I think the location I chose for that black bar was about right. And then I'm dividing each half into quadrants and drawing this bar across the top. So I'm going to be coloring that in and writing the name of the day of the week there. And there's 8 boxes, 7 days plus a to-do list.
A draw in the pavement, driving far.
And then the reason I liked this setup was for this section at the top right, and there's some space to write down whatever you want, but I've decided to go with goals, gratitude, and habits, and it just lets you be a little bit more like goal-oriented and task-oriented for the week. And finally, I have just enough time to add a little bit of artwork to this page, so I'm just going in and adding our leaves to this blank space and kind of filling in the space around where I wrote the month. And this was a close call, but we've just made it under 10 minutes.
And the next spread is a really great way, I think, to break up if you're doing a lot of like vertical boxes or like grid layouts, a lot of boxes. This is a great way to mix it up and add something different. It's also so simple because you don't have to draw any boxes. It's really quick. You just have to draw those 8 lines, and then you get that like vertical space on each side to do a little bit of artwork.
This is yet another spread that looks a lot more professional and sophisticated than it actually is. The great thing about this spread is you don't need to draw any boxes, so it's actually super quick. So I'm just kind of marking with my hand there where I'm going to draw the 4 bars, 4 on each side, so 7 days plus a to-do list. And you can see all you have to do is draw those 4 bars. That's literally it to set up the whole spread. I'm writing the days of the week on each line, and I'm purposely making the font a little bit larger than the thickness of the bar. And then I'm writing the date on the right side. I really like this aesthetic. I'm adding the to-do list over here. And then this is a great layout if you have some vertical artwork you need to do. It really features sort of thinner vertical art really well. So this was a quick one. It didn't even take 7.5 minutes, and it looks really beautiful.
The next spread is one of my all-time favorites. I usually include this in every single month. I love having the huge space on the top half for like a feature artwork. The drawback of this spread is that because the box is very skinny, you actually cannot write very much and you have to go to the next line already. So it's not the most practical, I have to say, after having used it many times, but I just love it so much because of the artwork page that I end up doing it every month anyways.
To set up this next one, I'm writing the month and the calendar in the top left corner, and then I'm going to be drawing 7 boxes across the page vertically, and so these are going to be where we're going to write the days of the week here. So I'm just drawing out the vertical lines first. I do find it a bit easier to draw all the lines in one direction. It's just a bit quicker and more efficient, I think, because it's harder to change directions with your hand. So I'm coloring in those top bars, and then that's where I'm going to be writing the days of the week, and then I'll put the to-do list on the left. And of course now I'm filling in that huge space on top with a bunch of art, lots of leaves here. So I did a quick time check here and realized I had more time than I thought, so I decided to take a slightly darker gray and go in and add a little bit more dimension to these leaves, and just adds a little bit more detail to the artwork.
And spread number 8 is kind of similar to one we saw previously with the numbers written around the words, but in this case we're only going to be writing below the numbers, and I've added a bit more artwork above. So drawback, of course, is you've lost some space to be writing out plans and scheduling and stuff, but you've gained a bit of extra artwork. So it kind of depends what you want to do for your theme, how much time you want to spend on the spread, but yeah, whichever one works better for you, you could choose accordingly.
So really similarly to that previous spread where we had the numbers written around the boxes, we're going to lay out 7 spaces here, 3 on the left and 4 on the right, but instead of drawing boxes, I'm just immediately going to write the days of the week because we don't have boxes in this one. You can add boxes, it just gives a slightly different aesthetic, so it depends what you're going for. After I've written out all the days, you can see I've also added the to-do list in the same location as before underneath the calendar, and then I'm writing the numbers around the words. It can be a little bit tricky without the boxes to guide you, but once you've done it a few times, lines, it will get much simpler. Just like before, choose whether you want those mid-strokes below or above the words. I've gone with below again here. And then before we added lines, like both above and below the numbers in this case, we're not doing that. We're going to add a little bit more extensive artwork than before. But again, it was super quick to lay this out because we didn't need to draw any boxes, so we have a bit more time to focus on the artwork.
Here's another one that I saw online recently. I haven't used it myself either. To be honest, I'm not totally sure if it's really my personal style, but I thought it could suit a lot of people, so I wanted to include it in this video for you guys. It's so simple. It's one of the quickest ones that I did of all of these, because all you have to do is write the days of the week. And I think one great thing about this spread is it's super task oriented. With those like boxes that you see in it, you could be super focused and on top of all your tasks for each day of this week.
This layout was the quickest of all of them actually, because I didn't need to draw any boxes and I did very minimal artwork on this page. So I think this is a great example of how straightforward and quick bullet journaling can be. You don't need to do anything fancy and you don't need to have like artistic masterpieces on every single spread. Of course you totally can, but it's not necessary. For this one, we're just writing out the days of the week in this cool cursive font, but again, you can use any font. You can keep it really, really simple. And then we're just adding 4 boxes next to each one, and that's literally it for this one.
Spread number 10, I love the top bar. Actually, I did not have space to include the little calendar that I said I would include every time, so I just really loved this spread so much that I wanted to include it. I really want to try this out in a monthly setup really soon, and this one actually took me 10 minutes and 13 seconds, so sorry about that one, but it's still really quick. You guys can definitely do it. You can also simplify the artwork to make it under 10 minutes as well. I got a bit carried away, so it took me just a tiny bit over 10 minutes.
I'm going to start this layout by writing the name of the month first, because as you saw, that top box kind of goes around it. So once I've written the word here, then I'm going to be drawing in that thick black box at the top. So I've gone around the word and I'm drawing that in. Looking back, I should have started setting up the weekly spread first because of the time constraint, but like I said, I got excited to do the artwork, and this was also my first time ever doing this spread for you guys in this video, so I was really having fun trying out a new spread for the first time ever. So I drew those few leaves and then realized I better get going with the actual days in the spread. So I'm going to draw 4 skinny boxes on each page. I think we might struggle with the same issue here of it being a bit skinny, but anyways, it looks really good, and then I've drawn that line at the top bit for each one. So again, we have 7 days of the week plus a to-do list. I'm going to color in each of these in the gray marker and then write the days on top, and then I'll be going in and finishing off the artwork.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Please let me know in the comments down below which spread was your favorite. I would love to know. I would also love to know if you guys can beat my times doing them. As usual, all the products I used are linked in the description below if you want to check that out. I would appreciate it so much if you found this video helpful to give me a like and hit that subscribe down below if you're not already subscribed. I really hope you found this video helpful and can show you that bullet journaling doesn't need to be onerous or tedious or time consuming. You can lay these out really quickly and set yourself up really well for a really beautiful spread. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye, friends!